Hello, it's your boy Altinin, or as my character's name is on Nopixel, it's his name is Fletcher. Alright, so just a tiny bit of background story to why I'm making this, and a few disclaimers. It's first of all, I'm making this because, well, I think we need to open a discussion about how cops deal with people and roleplay in general. Now, I've been doing roleplay for quite a while. I started doing text-based roleplay, so I'm quite experienced in how roleplay works. Also, I have to admit I'm fairly new in terms of GTA roleplay, where basically the only thing that's is kind of preventing the roleplay is essentially just the mechanics, which actually my character starts learning fairly decently by now in the game itself, and his figuring things out slowly within like the mechanics. When it comes to like the RP itself, it's actually really good, and people that have watched me play and that have stopped by my chat have actually uh, well applauded me and actually told me how great the RP is. So with that out of the way, actually, yeah, with that out of the way, I want to specifically point out the way cops talks to criminals, and that's what I think we need to improve on, and yeah, work on to make a better RP environment. Now, I want to show you guys Prune Gang Mel versus Negan, because that has a really good RP and conversation between the cops, the criminals, and justifiable actions. And then I'm gonna show you a clip or short part of one of my recent streams with my character and his recent arrest. Okay, so first of all, first of all, just pay attention to the interactions and the conversation between the cops and criminals. That's literally what I want to people to look at. Okay, and that's why I'm showing this. Now, I've been trying to do this through various sets of like forums, etc. But it's etc. It's just really hard to actually get in contact with people, both at Nopixel. It's really hard to, because English isn't my first language. It's really hard to explain it or write it in a sort of like quote unquote good way, if that makes sense. And honestly, that's all language barriers, I would say. And I do hope people look at the how the cops talk and how the criminals talk, and that we can learn something from watching something old and something new, and that we can develop and be better in the future. Okay, so let's watch this now. Mel is having an issue with a gang, and I'll be pausing every now and then and commenting and stuff like that. So Mel is having issues. He doesn't get arrested, but he gets cuffed by the cops. Actually, I don't know if Mel is getting arrested for sure, but he gets cuffed anyways, and later they let him go. All right, so let's just start by taking a look.
You need help, Mel?
Coach, someone's coming after
Will
me,
you
man.
stop?
Coach,
All right,
someone's coming after me, man.
okay, all right,
Coach,
okay,
Coach.
okay. Quiet down.
You know
Quiet
anyone
down,
who drives
Mel.
a red
You're gonna draw
lowrider?
attention here. You're gonna draw attention here.
No,
Come
it's
here.
I'm not trying nothing. Coach,
Come back here.
no,
Come back here.
no, man. Do you know anyone who drives a red lowrider? Answer the question.
I don't fucking know anybody that drives a red lowrider.
Randy.
Oh fuck.
get out of that car now, Mel. I've got a gun, Mel. I'll shoot you. Mel, don't fucking move. Get out of the car with your hands up now, Mel. Make it nice and quick, right?
Hold on, let's watch this.
About a month or okay.
You can talk, let's just watch.
About a month or so ago.
Dude,
I'm coming. I'm coming.
Well, you're coming.
All right?
Wait, what? I ain't
I'm
told you to
coming.
come.
I'm getting.
Mel,
I'm getting
don't
out.
make me pull the trigger, right?
Don't fucking point that thing at me again, all right?
Just listen to the conversation between the criminals. Actually, this sort of conversation is the type of conversation Fletcher has with everyone else. Literally, he has fluent conversation with everyone else. It doesn't need to be bad. It doesn't need to be like something badass or wrong. It could be like a simple civil conversation, like talking about literally anything. You know, Fletcher has been talking to someone taking NOS and delivering math lessons and shit, which was really funny. And yeah, so it's this type of conversation, right? You have really good conversation that creates a entertaining RP moment. Okay?
Don't fucking point that thing at me.
Come out of the car. Nice and slowly,
All
right?
right.
Come on.
All right. Okay. All right. I'm coming out.
Mel,
Let's just-
do it now.
I'm getting out,
3,
man. All right. I'm
2.
getting out. Can I park my car somewhere safer?
Mel, come on.
Okay. Let me just
Just
get
get out
this
of the
to a
car.
better
We'll
spot.
deal with your car.
I'm not running.
No,
Just
Mel.
let me get into a better spot. All right. Just
Mel,
let
get
me
out of the
get
car
her
now.
to a better
Alright, Mel.
spot.
Mel, get out of the car now.
Mel, just
No,
come
no,
out of
no,
the
no,
car.
get
We
the
just
car
Mel.
want to
off.
talk to you, man.
I'm not gonna
I'll
fucking
shoot
do
Mel.
nothing.
Alright, get out of the car.
fucking do
Just
nothing.
get out.
All right.
Come on, quick. Just
All
get
right.
out.
Just let
Mel,
me
oh
park
my
the
God,
car
Mel,
in a
no.
better.
You're
Stop.
scaring me, Mel.
All right, man.
scaring
All
me.
right.
By now, the cops shows up. They see Randy pulling a weapon at Mel, and they engage.
So how's your day going, Mel?
Mel runs away from the cops. That gives the cops reason to cuff Mel. Okay, I want to say this. If this scenario happened on today's sort of like roleplay thingy, you would have Mel being arrested for, well, evading the cops. Literally. And the cops would be like, yeah, you tried to escape the cops, that's jail. Literally. And they would search Mel's pocket, throw him in jail, and that's it.
Yeah.
But instead, in this one, how it should be, there's always this fluent conversation, and, you know, it keeps going for a while, which is good.
Mel, get out of the car. Alright. What's going on out here?
In and out of here, so just
Oh, you're just messing
Yeah,
around.
I
not
know.
making
go
payments
go
or
get
anything.
Mel. Go get him. God damn it.
Oh, he popped the tire, so.
He's back here. Yeah, he's back.
Fuck! Back off, Cooch!
Mel, when have I
Back
ever
the
fucked
fuck
you
off,
over?
man!
Come on.
Get the fuck away from me, you piece of shit! What's your fucking problem?
Mel tries to save his life by fighting for it, obviously. Typical.
What's this all about, eh?
The cops shows up, and because Mel is fighting, they cuff him, obviously.
What's this all about, man?
Mel,
What the fuck are you
Mel,
doing putting a gun on me?
stop.
The fuck is this about?
It's a taser.
So how you been, Kudo? How's life?
Well, stressful right now. That's how it is.
Why?
I mean, why do you think, Rami?
That's stressful.
Just-
Well, let me answer this call.
Skip ahead a tiny bit.
We'll get one in custody here.
I'm right here. That's
Hey,
awkward. I'm
question,
gonna go
Mr.
get my.
Bullet.
What happened?
Now listen how the cops are questioning the criminals. The cops in today's RP on Nopixel doesn't question anyone anymore. As far as Fletcher have interacted with cops, they haven't questioned Fletcher even once. Even once they haven't questioned Fletcher.
Mr. Bullet had a weapon out when I did arrive, so.
Oh, yeah, but I'm the one in cuffs.
Nope.
Mr.
And you can see the cop responds to when Mel are talking. So when Mel is, oh yeah, and I'm the one in cuffs. Mel, the cop is, nope. Which, you know,
Bullet?
it adds to the RP and it actually creates good
Bullet, you're gonna
RP.
have to face away from me. Place your hands above your head.
Wait, why?
Place your hands above your head.
Hold
Mr.
on,
Bullet,
hold
you
on,
stop
hold on. Chill.
walking.
What are you doing?
Mr. Bullet, you stop.
Chill. Whoa, but you can talk. You don't have
I
to.
was having a
Yeah,
conversation
you know
with my
why I'm
buddy
putting
over
you in
there.
Yeah, what's
cuffs?
And then you guys rolled up.
You had the firearm
what
pointed
happened?
at somebody and you don't have any license
No,
for
I
that, so
didn't.
you place your hands above your head.
I don't have a firearm.
Hey, he was on private property, ma'am.
What the fuck?
He was on private property.
Mr.
defending my
Bullet,
property for me.
I'm gonna have a runner.
It's his gun. It's
What?
not my gun. What are you doing?
I'm telling you
what
to
are you
place
at,
your
Randy?
fucking head above your head.
Yeah, fucking idiot.
What the
right.
fuck is
All
going
right, hey,
on?
I arrived.
Oh.
Mr.
Holy
Bullet
shit, is
had
it
a weapon out in his hand.
complicated?
We're gonna search him, make sure it's all legal. If everything's legal, you know, he's good
Alright,
to
you
go.
can't talk to people normally, you dumb
Apparently they
motherfucker.
saw him with a gun out.
Well,
his hand.
don't need to run
He
from the
doesn't have a
police.
license.
So,
Yeah, we got fucking.
Hey,
brain-dead cop
your
over
cop
here.
card disappeared, by the way.
Power
yep,
hungry
I'm
bitch.
fully aware of that. That's a daily thing.
Oh dear, that's a shame.
I mean, Randy's not the smartest man to point a gun at someone when he doesn't have a license and there's cops there. So.
Who's Randy
Hey, what
putting a gun
happened
at?
Mel. He's
What an
right
idiot.
around the corner
Where's
at
Mel?
Cops.
Oh shit.
Around the corner
Oh,
at
there
Cops
he is.
with
Oh
an
yeah,
officer.
blind as hell.
So then why'd you run from the police?
Oh, I was running from the police.
Now listen to this part. So the cops are actually questioning. They're talking to Mel. Mel is talking to the cops. You have this fluent conversation.
So why were you running in general?
I was using you as an opportunity to get the fuck out of here.
Why are you trying to get out of here so quick? You just having a friendly conversation, Mel?
I don't want to be here. I felt like, you know, it was my time to go.
Well, the thing is, hold on.
You know how Mel is, he
Frank
thinks he's
lets us
invincible.
go,
You're just gonna strong arm me here. You're not gonna say a goddamn
I'm not
word.
strong arming you, all right? Listen.
I'm
here's
trying
the
to
deal.
help you here.
Well, the
You
only
wanna
way
help me?
you're
I
gonna
can't
help
help
me,
you.
the only way you're gonna help me is if you let me get to that car, fix it, and get the fuck out of here. So can you walk me over to my car so I can fix it and get the fuck out of here? That's the way you're gonna keep me safe, all right? That's the way you're gonna keep me safe. I can't tell you shit. I would love to tell you everything, but look who you're talking to. There's nothing to tell you.
How about don't tell me, just write it, and then you're not telling me.
I ain't writing. Oh,
See?
shit. I ain't
Ooh,
writing
yeah.
shit.
Read.
Now, that's police or cop RP. All right, that's proper role play with cops and criminals. Okay. Shit, I always do this.
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, I know. I gotta respect.
So
That's fine.
let's just move ahead.
Randy got mine.
Read. Can I get?
Then there's another section with Mel that I think we should pay attention to.
What gun any on me?
I don't know what's
Hey,
going
Frank,
down.
I need
One
you off
time
my
I don't
property
have
now.
any on me.
Need
All
you
right.
to take
Hey,
the
Coach.
suspect and get off my property.
Yeah.
Hello, Milbert.
Hi, Coach.
Hello, Milbert.
I would hope that people aren't drawing weapons out here trying to hold people up for anything
I
as
sure
well,
hope
you know?
Paper.
Well, ain't nobody doing that.
Well,
But,
I saw
whatever
Mr. Bullet with a
happened,
weapon out, so
Well,
You
it
might
was on
wanna-
private property. It was on private property.
And now the cop is having a conversation with the other criminals.
So,
So you see that fluent set of conversation going on between the cops and the criminals.
yeah, but he was still committing a crime on private property. It's still a crime.
he was not committing a crime.
Brandishing a firearm is
was,
committing a
he was-
crime.
He
On
was
private
asking
property,
someone
Frank?
to-
I just want to add, no one has shown any ID by this point.
leave. He was asking someone to leave this private property.
Okay, so he doesn't need to pull a weapon out. I did not see Mr. Melbourne. What's Mel gonna do here?
I mean, Frank, look, I'm
run
on
him over
private
with a car?
property. I can have my gun out.
Yes, I am fully aware of you being allowed to have a gun out on private property. I'm not arguing that. I'm just arguing the fact that what was he trying to do? I just want to know why he had a gun out. wanted him to leave and he wasn't leaving?
He
Okay.
was simply escorting Mr. Melbourne off the property.
And you know what? There's a lot easier ways to do it without a firearm. You know, you scare people when people start bringing firearms out, you know? We get calls of people having firearms.
I'm sorry that the public got scared, but that is not against the law for people to be scared.
No, it's not, but it's our job to come in.
I hope you get the point by now. You know, you have the fluent conversation, but I want you to watch the end of this.
We're just trying to do our job.
I need Mr. Bullet released because he was running security on my private property.
Castle Doctrine.
And therefore
Vinny, call
therefore
Taco.
did not
Castle
break
Doctrine
any
does
laws.
not apply to businesses, I do not believe, so.
This is private property. The clubhouse is not part of the business.
Okay, so what do you define as a business and not business here? Because, you know, everything's just kind of connected.
Oh, Randy.
I just want to understand.
I mean, it's kind of an amalgamation. It's
I
an
don't have
amalgamation
Taco's
of,
number.
pretty much everything.
Yeah, alright. Well, Mel's gonna come back on the property, fix his car, and he's gonna leave. So,
No, they can keep the car. That's fine. I'll see you guys later.
What? Mal.
Now, can I get Mr. Bullet released as he did not break any
well,
laws?
we're gonna search him real quick, make sure he's got all proper licenses, and if he's got proper licenses, then yes, he's free to go. If he doesn't, then there's an issue. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's doing security or not. He still needs a proper valid weapons license to possess a firearm in this city. So
There we go. Okay, so we have watched the interaction between the cops and Mel and the cops and the criminals, and I hope you get that kind of like fluent conversation between the two of them. Now, I'm gonna go over to another scenario. This is the latest arrest of Fletcher. He has been playing on the server for 3 days, so he have done 12-hour sessions because it's so hard to get into the server, and because as a content creator, it's really hard actually making GTA RP content without, like consistently, and developing the character as well without having prio. So whenever Fletcher gets into the server, he has to spend the entire, as much time as he can playing on the server, pretty much. So when Fletcher gets into the city, he stays in the city for as long as he can, until the next wave. Fletcher has, after this last arrest, which happened the morning of 25th December 2021, he learned that he will probably never play in the EU time slot again, because it's actually worse playing on the EU time slot than the NA time slot. I would reckon, in terms of like the RP and cops, the people that are playing on the NA time slot are actually role playing 10 times better than probably anyone on the EU time slot. Now, if you look away from like everything else, Fletcher haven't really played an entire like 12 hours on the EU time slot yet, so he can't, or I can say much about how the EU time slot is like. But based on the first interaction and the first arrest happening on the EU time slot, it's not tempting or exciting to play on the EU time slot anyways. In this case, Fletcher was just finishing up some work that he was just rounding up from last tsunami. Now, you see Fletcher doing drug deals, which is a criminal offense, okay? Fletcher doesn't do much of like drug deliveries like this, okay? I'll tell you that. He delivers probably, he sells probably he tries to get rid of a batch of meth a day, and up until now he have actually exceeded. Yeah, until upon the last arrest, yeah, that he got. Now he has been on the server for just a short a few days, but he has been in for longer amounts than normal people or players would be because of like the queue and shit. I'm just gonna say that I don't think everyone spends 12 hours playing or role playing. And therefore, my character Fletcher Psychoids has been able to progress thereafter. Everything Fletcher knows has been through genuine RP interactions, where he has been really lucky meeting a lot of good people, and he has built quite a few connections through the past few days. So, with further ado, and before I start rambling, we're just gonna watch this. There you go, sir. So, by this point, there's no cops showing up. I just want to make that clear. There's no cops showing up. There's no evidence of like a drug deal going on. Not even suspicion. There comes a cop. And the cop stops in the middle of the road because, you know, suspicion, maybe something's going down, whatever. Who knows? Damn, we got a safe crack. The cops still haven't witnessed anything illegal, by the way. I'm just pointing that out. Got a safe cracker. And there's still no suspicion. Eris is gonna be happy now, bro. Damn. Now, Fletcher does speed, but if the first cop car that was literally just watching Fletcher drive off, if he noticed, if he, well, was catching Fletcher speeding, or was following Fletcher, the sirens would go off by now and Fletcher would be pulled over. Damn, bro. That's actually good. Fletcher also didn't leave any traces on the drug deal spot, by the way. There's no traces of a drug deal going on. Fletcher didn't leave any items behind. Fletcher had his car parked and drove off. Because now we can... And obviously Fletcher or me is kind of like thinking in his head, thinking out loud, you know, just trying to explain and not have, you know, silent fucking stream, stuff like that. Now we can get somewhere. And the sirens goes off. Fletcher noticed there's sirens. He looked back and there's 2 cop cars. Later there comes a 3rd cop car. Fletcher pulls over because he thinks that the cops are chasing someone else. And later the deputy or whoever it is brings out a canine dog as well. And the reason they are pulling over Fletcher is for speeding. That's the 2 first cop cars. The primary reason why Fletcher is getting pulled over is for speeding. Yeah. Yeah. Hello? I managed to misclick. Oh, sorry. My first reaction and comment to this is, why does the deputy bring out the K9 dog if Fletcher is getting pulled out primarily for speeding? There's no suspicion or no reason to bring out the dog. I'm just pointing that out.
Sir, can you remove the helmet, please? I can have your ID and proof of insurance in the motor vehicle.
Then this is the interesting part, and this is what I want you to kind of like pick up on, and that's the conversation that, you know, the cops and Mel had, and the cops and the criminals had, versus the conversation that's going on in this part, where the cops ignores what Fletcher has to say, or ignores Fletcher entirely. When Fletcher asks for a lawyer, they ignore the fact that Fletcher wants a lawyer and the acknowledgement. At the same time, Fletcher refuses. Well, he doesn't refuse, but he still doesn't show the ID or get out of the vehicle. And there's just a lack of like mutual communication between the parties. Why?
Because let me try again, sir. I am senior deputy Leonova.
I just want to add, the title is irrelevant to the entire scenario. It could be like a normal officer. The cop being a deputy doesn't make it more sort of like, what can you say, a reason to for Fletcher to, well, do anything. But why did you pull me over?
Talk about that after you provide me your ID, sir.
But you gotta pull me over with a reason. You gotta give me a reason.
I do have a reason, sir.
Then what's the reason? I'm confused.
Sir, I need your ID.
But what's the... I mean, by now I just need to ask, is it that hard to actually have a conversation with Fletcher other than, please give me your ID, you're going to jail? Because at the moment, that's where this is heading. Give me your ID, we're gonna throw you in jail. It's that simple. By now, because there are 3 cop cars, that's 3 units. Usually there's 2 police officers in each unit, so that's 6 cops. And there's a K9 dog as well. And they're pulling Fletcher over for speeding, primarily. And they can't just have, like, a sort of, like, conversation that, oh, you're going a bit fast there. Or trying to actually have a conversation. The reason, I'm confused.
Okay, sir, I'm going to ask you one more time or I'm going to have to tase you out of the vehicle, okay?
I want a lawyer. This is...
Okay, sir, I'm now asking you to step out of the vehicle. Please step out of the motor vehicle.
You gotta have a reason. You can't just pull me out.
Sir,
without a reason.
one before I tase you out of the vehicle.
This is police. Fletcher is, well, getting tased, and he tries as good as possible to make some sort of like ridiculous RP moment where he goes on with police brutality and stuff like that. Which, you know, at this point the cops aren't really contributing or making any RP out of it. I just want to say it properly first. The cops really aren't trying to make any sort of like RP going on. It's literally just give me your ID, we're gonna search you, you're going to jail, and that's the end of it. Brutality.
Okay.
I want a lawyer.
I did ask you, sir. Hands behind your back.
Now later when they cuff Fletcher, they actually says, we were gonna search you anyway. So I want you to pay attention to that, because that indicates that they planned to literally just cuff Fletcher and search him and check him into jail for anything they could put on him, essentially. It was already planned from even before Fletcher pulled over, and yeah, that's about it.
Now you're gonna get disobeying as well.
I asked for the disobedience is debatable. I don't think Fletcher was disobedient. Because he did pull over after all, and he was cooperating, and if the cops would try to actually have a human conversation instead of acting like robots as they do, which give me your ID, we're gonna search you, you're going to jail. That's how the cops are going and taking on the situations now. If the cops were to have a conversation instead, that would make the RP better, as we did see with Pruny Gang, Mel versus Negan. And it would make it more entertaining, and you would have, like, in general, better RP and scenario. I want to add the fact that Fletcher is going to jail is fine. The fact that Fletcher gotta pay a fine is fine. The fact that Fletcher gotta, well, get confiscated most of the illegal or all of the illegal items, it's fine. Fletcher have dealt with it. It's in the past. Fletcher went to jail, he served his sentence, and he moved on. He paid his debt, neither Fletcher is mad about the fact that he went to jail or got caught. Okay, I just want to make that clear.
Reason. That's all I did. God damn it. Okay, well, you were speeding, sir. Yeah.
Now they tell me that, now they tell Fletcher that he was speeding.
Yeah, then just tell me that I'm speeding. I'll pay the fine.
Sir, well, we don't tell you what the offense is until you provide us identification, right?
Well,
I asked you for identification 3 times, and I told you was going to get tased, and asked you to step out of the vehicle.
If Fletcher was speeding, why are they searching his vehicle? I just want to point that out. If Fletcher was speeding, they have no warrant to search his vehicle by this point. Fletcher went to jail the day before. He pleaded guilty. He served his sentence. He have not escaped the cops in between. He have not done any criminal stuff in between that will give Fletcher a warrant. So they're searching his car without reason or reasonable doubt. They're also searching Fletcher's pockets without reasonable doubt or suspicion or whatever to do so. Is it just because Fletcher has a mask they're pulling him over and yeah, that's a criminal, we're gonna pull him over? Is that why? Or is it the fact that the first cop car just saw Fletcher being parked on like a drug deal spot, so they reported a drug deal? Which neither of these things should happen in this scenario.
But I asked you for a reason. You can't just pull over anyone without... I'm not a lawyer. This is police brutality.
Oh shit. I just messed it up, hold on.
This is fucking dumb. Yo.
Identification 3 times, and I told you
There we go.
to get tased, and asked you to step out of the vehicle.
But I asked you for a reason. You can't just pull over anyone without... I'm not a lawyer. This is police.
And if you didn't hear actually the mumbling right before Fletcher just shut up when they that's the moment when they said we were gonna search you anyways, or anyway, which indicates that everything was staged and planned from like the beginning, that Fletcher was gonna get caught for possession and thrown in jail and whatever.
Police brutality.
But at this point, Fletcher have pretty much given up because he knows how it's gonna go down. The cops will not even bother to like talk to Fletcher in like a RP way, or it's not gonna be a RP worthy moment, if that makes sense. And there's no fluent conversation between the cop and the criminal, and opposite, really. There really isn't. If you combine the interaction between the cops and the criminals, you had a cop talking, you had criminal talking. You had the two of them having an understanding. Both of them were understanding each other. You have this one where no one understands no one, essentially. You know, Fletcher just wants to know why he got pulled over. The cop just is being an ass and just, yeah, we're gonna throw you in jail. That's already decided and you just gotta deal with it. And I would argue and say that that's not how RP should be done. Alright, it's fair. Fletcher going to jail, he's paying the fine, that's fine. But the RP and the scenario could be so much better. And I just want to actually be able to create and participate in making moments, RP moments like this. So that's why I'm making this explanation, because there's no point for Fletcher or myself to be mad or complain about the arrest in itself. But I want to use I want to address the interactions where it can be better. The number rule can be enforced better. You don't need 3 cop cars to pull over 1 car for speeding, and you need to reevaluate the situation all the time and stuff like that as it goes. And I just think there's room for improvements on both sides, obviously. And speaking from like a really sort of like new into like Nopixel, I still have a lot to learn in that regards, and so does the cops. But the cops are more experienced in that matter, and they still can make this kind of RP situations. They still doesn't talk as a human being at the moment. They're talking like robots. It's like talking to the cops at the moment is like talking to a brick wall. During the first arrest of Fletcher, which was, if I recall correctly, it was on Christmas or the 24th in EU time, but on the NA time slot, so it would be actually 23rd, I think, maybe. Yeah, but anyways, the cops the first time was actually, well, Fletcher realized that there was no point in arguing with the cops because they wouldn't meet Fletcher at a middle ground anywhere whatsoever. So Fletcher was like, yeah, whatever, I'm just gonna plead guilty and get done with it because it's just pointless RPing this out with the cops. So Fletcher pleaded guilty, went to jail, and just wanted to he just wanted to get that done. Fletcher still roleplayed, even though there was this massive ghost glitch or whatever where the textures didn't load and character was invisible and stuff like that. So Fletcher actually he roleplayed out that shit quite well, and that's the difference between a noob role player and a experienced role player, because a newbie role player would be like, what the fuck, and it would OOC, oh, textures are glitched or whatever. And speaking about OOC, that's another thing. There's so many people OOCing for hardly no reason. It's like it's things they can play out in character that they are essentially just OOCing because they're lazy. Yeah, I just want to put that out. And Fletcher Fletcher had a sort of like headache during the car chase where the textures didn't load and the UI got stuck. So Fletcher wasn't able to switch seats. But the cops, however, allegedly witnessed Fletcher drive. But Fletcher didn't drive, and that's the reason we crashed. Because the driver on the first arrest switched seats so Fletcher could jump in the driver's seat, but Fletcher couldn't jump in the driver's seat, so the car kept on driving and crashed into, well, a wall or something. So when Fletcher tried to argue that with the cops and literally said like, yeah, I have a headache, I didn't drive, then the cops was like, they were so stubborn that they refused to listen to anything that Fletcher said. The cops literally ignored every conversation that Fletcher tried to make during the first arrest and during the second arrest. And that's all different cops, by the way. And in total, that's probably around 10 different cops right there. And that says a lot if the cops really can't roleplay in like the standards as roleplay should be, that you know, when you're watching all those big streamers and the roleplay, it's good roleplay, it's good content, and then you suddenly get in on yourself and you experience how shit it is. It's like the top role players are they're just the few people that are standing out from a bunch of people that doesn't know how to roleplay and have no idea what they're doing, essentially. There's still a lot of good role players, and I'm now talking more specifically about the cops, because the civilian roleplay is incredibly good. The cop roleplay that Fletcher have experienced so far has been terrible. There's been no fluent conversation. So, and there has been no respect for like the number or the situation or the offense being done. It's like the cops are so bored that they're pulling over anyone for anything without any reason. And it's like, that's not cop roleplay. And it's not how it works in real life either. You know, you see those extreme situations, which a minority of like cops do on YouTube, and you think that's how it works, but it isn't. There's so many other great cops that operates differently, and the reason why they're making all those videos where they showcase all the bad coppers is to show how the cops are being unreasonable, and for education purposes to show this is not how it's supposed to be done. There's still plenty of good videos about police approaches. I recently watched a guy that was walking in a parking lot looking into cars. He didn't do any like criminal offense at that point, but there was one cop that acted really aggressive towards him and, well, tried to throw him out. And then you had the lead officer or officer in charge, and then you had another officer that was watching him. So you had the officer in charge, he interfered, and later on, and the two other cops were cool about it. They had a fluent conversation with the person, and there was this fluent level of communication where the cops would talk to, quote unquote, the criminal in this case as a human being, and the criminal, quote unquote, would talk to the cops as a human being, which in this example there's nothing human interaction going on. There's, like I've said, it's you were speeding, we're gonna pull you over, we're gonna search you, and we're gonna charge you for everything we can, and we're gonna throw you in jail. That was already decided even before Fletcher got pulled over. While this one was a cop and Mel and the criminal that had a fluent conversation to try to solve the situation. While this one, the cops did nothing to solve the situation. they didn't tell Fletcher that he was going a bit fast or whatever. They showed up with way too many cops, you know, and stuff like that. And in the video I watched earlier today, the only reason why it ended up being 3 cops at the scene was, one, because there was 1 cop watching from to begin with. Then another cop comes out to talk to the guy to get him removed, but he didn't really want to talk to the guy. He just wanted to throw him out. And then because of that escalated into a situation where his superior had to be called in, which was the 3rd officer, basically. Yeah, I just wanted to tell that, well, share that sort of like story and all of that. And I really hope that we can get into like a conversation about how the cops RP should be like, and that we can define it in a better way. Now, it's at the moment it's almost impossible for Fletcher to do any crime, because anytime Fletcher does any crime, he gets caught and thrown into jail for nothing, even though the cops doesn't necessarily witness the crime, or yeah, whatever. The cops are literally so bored that they are literally, it's almost like they are guarding all the criminal spots. And because of like the cop RP, there's, in character, Fletcher have actually talked to people, and there's so many that have stopped doing crime and instead just are doing dodo deliveries, because the cop RP just are that bad. Really. It's like, at the moment, the smaller crimes is like, it's almost impossible to do without getting caught, because you're getting outnumbered by cops, and you have like the cop rule that's getting broken. You have so many minor things, really, that it's like there's no getting away with it. And I'm gonna say this straight up, that my computer and hardware isn't the best, so it gives a few like texture issues when Fletcher is speeding, and sometimes he get a headache when he drives too fast to Sandy Shores and stuff like that. So Fletcher can't exactly drive and escape from the cops on his own. He can be a passenger and someone else can escape the cops, fine. But Fletcher can't drive himself. I just want to say that, and because of that, it makes it even more harder for Fletcher, where Fletcher needs to be more careful. Something that he figures out in RP and in character all the time. And he always learns from that. But that doesn't change the fact that there's no interaction or communication between the cops and the criminals, which is what I'm wanting to, well, open a discussion about. And I want to see improvements where Nopixel becomes a place where it's not, where it's kind of like you actually enjoy being, well, you actually have a laugh being pulled over, and it's not like, oh well, this is them. I mean, it's funny. This situation in particular is funny because it's so dumb. It's so insanely dumb that they need 3 units and a K9 unit for speeding, for a simple speeding ticket. I mean, it's like, wow. And the cops being bored aren't a justifiable reason to approach anyone for anything. Just to kind of like put that out there as well. I get it, the cops are bored, but the cops needs to make their own content as well. You know, there's so many things cops can do. Both the cops just need to be on duty if they are bored. You know, they can go off duty. They can do something else around the city. You know, they can get a job at the market, whatever. They doesn't have to be on duty. They can do something else as well. If they're that bored, they can do something else. They don't necessarily need to be on duty all the time. I just wanted to put that all out there and stuff like that, and you know, hopefully we can see some improvements, because that's all I wanted to do. I'm making this video because I cannot reach any staff at Nopixel, and there is no reasonable way to actually get in touch with anyone to solve the issue. It's like, yeah, a lot of the criminals have given up because they're doing dodos runs all day instead, because it's just not worth it. And then crime is basically ruined. Yeah. That's I don't think I have anything else to say, actually. I think that's it. So hopefully we can get better. And I'm gonna stop rambling now, and yeah. Peace out.